to the plot of the film. So, Cleopatra finally gives in to Hans, who is constantly giving her expensive gifts. The best fruits and wines from the vineyards of France, and expensive, knickknacks for her. And her lover, the strong man, and her decide that she should marry the Hans. And she has a plan as she tells her lover, the strong man, I'll take care of him. And watch for the champagne bottle at her feet, because we're going to show you one of the most famous scenes from Freaks, the most famous scene, Loving Cup, which is video number 7.
It's fantastic, folks.
We are. Well, do you remember what you were talking about, so you could share it with the audience? Because I forgot.
Well, first of all, what was it?
Olga. Right.
Whoever was playing Cleopatra, this is a great job of acting in this scene. The way she looked at the freaks with utter horror and just disgust when they were passing the loving cup around. I mean, it was very convincing and very freaky. And let's face it, would you how good would you feel about taking a swig out of that thing? I can see a little bit of reluctance there, and I like to consider myself a compassionate human being, but my God, especially Schlitzie got the last sip before the little guy handed it to her. Great scene in the movie, very effective.
But it has to be understood in the context. This is 1932. 1 year from now, Hitler will rise to power. But in America, approved by the Supreme Court, was the eugenics movement, which was to, stop the breeding of people that were mentally defective, had low IQs, that were undesirable. And if Harry Earls and his family, Frida and Tiny and the other sister, hadn't left Germany when they did, if they had been there in Nazi Germany, they would have been exterminated. And the evil of the Third Reich right there, I gotta tell you. But it wasn't just the Third Reich; it was in America and other countries, not as extreme. But Todd Browning, the director, came up from the circus, and he did have compassion for these people because he knew them. And so the people were horrified of this, saying they're being exploited. And a lot of the freaks were mad about the movie, too. But a lot of people see it as an anti-eugenics movie, a film, because right at the beginning, when you have the thing about these are children, and the French.
Absolutely. The whole message of the movie is that the
people are people.
The disgusting people were the so-called normals, and the
right.
The freaks were they were pretty wholesome human beings that had their own ethics
Quirks.
And culture. I thought the film stood up for them in a great way.
In the long cut, that's more apparent that it's the normal people that are the freaks, and they're offering to put her to be part of their community, and she rejects it. And as at the beginning, if you offend one, you offend all. But she had started poisoning Harry Earls, and there's a scene we're not going to show you where, as the circus is moving, Hans confronts Cleopatra and demands the little black bottle that she's been poisoning him with. She's pretending that she's giving him a medicine for a condition caused by the poison. And that leads to one of the eeriest scenes in all movies. And we're going to go with it now. 8, what I call the chase. We're going to go off 5 minutes early because we want to show the last video, but that's a scene that can give you nightmares with the pinheads and the dog-faced girl, and then Prince Randian comes with the knife between his teeth. It's like, holy smoke. And I guess in the unexpurgated version, we find out that he had a prior career as a mohel, but you have to watch the first show. It's up on my YouTube and Matt Connerton's IPM Nation. And hey, let's go right. The thing is, in the you actually feel a little compassion for the strong man about what's about to happen to him. Which is such an awful character. But
Yeah.
should we?
Yeah, but you feel sorry for him for like a second, then you realize, hey, he deserves it.
Well, but
But yeah, what a great scene that is, and and a lot was left on the cutting room floor as we discussed, but still, the image of the freaks crawling under the wagon through that driving rainstorm, bent on mayhem, yeah, it stays with you. I have no idea what the prince would have done with that knife in his mouth, but hey, it's still very affecting, very scary, and it has stood up. It has stood the test of cinematic time. Great scene.
In the uncut,
great way to wrap up the movie.
Yeah, in the uncut version, well, we haven't wrapped the movie up yet. In the uncut version, they castrate him. I don't know if it's Prince Randian that does it. But at that moment when he's been stabbed and he looks at his fate coming at him, you are for the first time, you're identifying with him because that's one of the eeriest scenes. And, your former sister-in-law told me that scene gave her nightmares, which leads us into number 9. How She Got That Way, which picks up right from the end of that scene. Brendan, I think we're going to have to go with 10 squawking just to have a reprise of that, Offend one, folks, and you offend them all. It's kind of like the Manchester Board of Mayor and Aldermen. You put in I think, a justified petition for a conduct board against somebody that is acting kind of like the strong man and Cleopatra, and they all they all get together to protect themselves. But. That's life, right? Huh? Do you think that Cleopatra got her comeuppance, Peter?
Oh, she sure did. Yeah, and how she got that way, I guess we'll never know. But do you have any doubt that it was well deserved and the justice was served?
Well, in the uncut version, lightning hits the tree. It comes down on her, so basically, like, the lower half of her body is crushed, and they say there's a scene where Hans, who's going after her, and the freaks crawl through the branches, and they turn her into the Duck Lady. And the ending, which this movie was cut and reshot, folks. There's all sorts of continuity errors if you've watched it as many times as Peter and I, because you have characters that are in two different places at the same time. It was actually a longer thing. Well, they castrated the strong man, and they turned her into the human duck after they cut the bottom part of her body off, made her hands into what's the duck have? Flippers, feet. We used to watch the ducks where we worked.
Yeah, flappers.
Flippers? Something.
And the more I think about it, they've done a lot of reconstruction of these old movies. Why hasn't there been, somebody gotten some of that old footage and reconstructed Freaks to its full original glory?
All lost. It's all lost. Peter, it's all lost.
If you want to do something positive with a life hop,
it's lost.
Let's put together the director's cut of Freaks.
It's lost because the film stock had silver nitrate in it, and they'd melt it down for the silver. A lot of films were lost. Films that would be considered classics because it was considered like TV. Nobody would ever watch the stuff again except the Gone with the Wind, and TV. Shows, really significant shows, were just wiped to recycle the tape. But at the end, folks, it was supposed to be while the strong man was singing in a castrato voice, as a alto. She was supposed to be squawking along with him, but I guess that's what drove people out of the theaters. As if it wasn't horrible enough, you have the castration fears of American men. But Peter, thanks for joining us. We're going to be going out with another music video with a Devo song. But a lot of people see this now as the revenge of the small people, and the midgets are midgets and the dwarfs are very prominent in this, against the people that exploited them. Because this was the height of the Depression, 1932, the year that would see FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, decisively come to power and create a new America. But so it is a great metaphor.
Yeah, it's the revolution of the proletariat is all over this.
Yeah.
And it's an allegory for a lot of our social structures that still go on today.
Okay, Peter, thank you so much. And thank you, folks. We'll see you next week. I don't think Peter's going to be here because the William Shatner Toop thing should be, later, probably in May. Thank you, Peter. Take care. See you next week, folks, here at Ward.
Top this one. The lion don't live that can outroar me.